Braxton. Thank you. Are you ready? Yeah.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the top 25 action sequel, The Accountant 2. The film is directed by Gavin O'Connor and it stars Ben Affleck, John Bernthal, J.K. Simmons and Cynthia Addai Robinson. Now this time round, Ben Affleck's Christian Wolf, the accountant, is asked to help after the death of J.K. Simmons' character Ray King at the beginning of the film. He leaves just a mysterious message on his forearm in pen that says, "Find the accountant." And his friend and colleague, Maybeth at the bureau, tracks down Christian Wolf, asks him to help. And he brings his brother, John Bernthal, on board, Braxton, in order for them to kind of figure out what's gone on. Along the way, the two brothers learn to kind of reconnect, and they discover that they have to save the lives of a lot of children in order to figure out what's gone on with J.K. Simmons' character. Right, what are my thoughts on The Accountant 2? Well, I only just watched the first Accountant film a couple of weeks ago. I put a film review up for that one. It was the first time I'd seen it, and I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was a well-made film and did a very good job of what it was trying to do. So I've been quite looking forward to checking out the second one, and now that I have managed to see it, I do think it is a worthy sequel to the first one. I think it... A little bit like the first one, I think the story almost threatens to swallow it up. It's quite an overly convoluted story when it kind of didn't feel like it needed to be. It's a bit of an oddity because the film takes, I feel, a much lighter tone this time round in regards to how it presents Christian Wolf and his relationship with his brother, and even how they choose to portray his autism a little bit in this film. It's a much lighter approach, I feel. But the mission or the story that he is thrust into feels overly convoluted, you know. It's not just a case of, Ray King, J.K. Simmons' character, has been killed. Please help me. I need to figure out what's going on. There's a whole story about this woman and her son that went missing 8 years ago. There's a female hitwoman that's connected to J.K. Simmons' character. And I can't really say much more than that because it kind of all intertwines as the film goes on. And then, you know, there's some big bad guy who has got something to do with this woman that went missing 8 years ago, and also something to do with J.K. Simmons' death, his character's death. And it all gets a bit muggy, I think, is the best way to put it. And I genuinely, you feel like it didn't need to be like that. I certainly felt like that. And it felt like the film, for its own reasons, gives you a fairly unsatisfying conclusion to the film. But the big strength of this film is the relationship and the chemistry between Ben Affleck and John Bernthal. Now, in the first film, we only really got that payoff at the end of the film. You know, they kind of got their own stories running alongside each other in the first film, and then obviously at the end of the film, it's revealed that John Bernthal's his brother. And they reconnect. And then this film is set 8 years after that. And basically, because of his condition, his autism, you know, he's not really bothered to get in touch with his brother. So they're kind of estranged again. But so that the film kind of deals with them reconnecting. And I think the film does a really good job at that. But I did take issue with, I don't know, the way they've decided to portray Christian Wolf's condition a little bit. Now, I'm not going to get my high horse or anything like that. I just thought they decided to lighten it a little bit. I mean, the film actually starts with him attending a speed dating conference, which, granted, is quite funny. And I don't have an issue with, that side of it. It was quite amusing quite a lot of the times. He does some line dancing and things like that in the film, and I don't know. It felt like in the first one, he had learnt to live with this condition, and he was using it to his advantage, so on and so forth. But he just couldn't connect with people because of his condition, even though he wanted to. This time round, it was like, I don't know. It was like they were forcing him into scenarios to connect, but it kind of betrayed who his character was in the first film. So yeah, a little bit. I mean, not enough to spoil the film or anything like that, but they went with a much lighter tone here in this one, and I think at times it kind of affected the tone of the film, I suppose. But I did very much enjoy the interactions between Ben Affleck and Jon Bernthal. I mean, Jon Bernthal is just awesome. He's great pretty much in everything he does. I just can't understand why he can't get his own leading man roles. He's always like the bridesmaid, never the bride. Now, I know he's got his Punisher thing, and I really hope that does develop into a Marvel movie for him, because he does deserve his own leading man career. You see him in so many movies, and he's always great in them. But sometimes he's like either second, third, fourth billing sort of thing. And for me, he really does deserve his own movies at this point in his career. I think he's great. He's a great actor. He's a good performer. He's a good actor, but he's also a very good physical actor, and he can do the action side of it, as we know as well. So I think the film delivers on much of what it's trying to do. It feels like there was less action this time round than the first one. It's not what you would describe as a traditional action film. It's more an action thriller. And it does feel like there's a couple of moments put in the film to kind of, I don't know, speed up the action. There's a scene where he's interrogating someone and he basically beats everybody up in a warehouse, Ben Affleck's character. There's a couple of scenes that are very brief in regards to action, and it were kind of like, it felt like they were forced into the film. And then when you do actually get to the massive final conclusion, it's like an overly long action scene sort of thing that's done very well, don't get me wrong, but it kind of like they saved everything for the last 20 minutes of the film, and before that, you just got a few snippets of action here and there. It was more a character piece up to that point, and more of a investigation, because they kind of had to figure out what's going on, and check out these people and interrogate this person, so on and so forth. So yeah, I thought this was definitely a worthy sequel. I don't think it was as good as the first one in a lot of ways, but I think the things it got right, it did really well. But I think it made a couple of missteps as well as along the way. So definitely check this one out if you're a fan of the first one. I do think it was good. I enjoyed it very much. And yeah, give it a go. And I will, of course, see you back on the channel with plenty more content very, very soon.